So friends, a judge just ordered Mike Pence to testify before the grand jury about the crimes of Donald Trump. It's kind of a big deal. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So friends, a former Vice President of the United States was just ordered to testify about the crimes of a former President of the United States. This matters. Let's look at the new reporting from NBC News. Headline: Federal judge orders Pence to testify in special counsel probe investigating Trump. And that article begins: a federal judge has ordered former Vice President Mike Pence to comply with a subpoena in the investigation into former President Donald Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election results, according to a source familiar with the decision. The ruling from Judge James Boasberg, the chief judge for the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia, requires Pence to testify before the grand jury tied to the probe led by special counsel Jack Smith. The ruling was issued Monday, but remains under seal because it involves grand jury matters. The judge's order gave Pence a partial victory regarding his argument that he was shielded from having to testify about January 6th because of his constitutional role as part of the legislative branch. Pence's team has argued that the speech or debate clause of the Constitution, which can protect lawmakers from being compelled to discuss legislative activity, granted him immunity from testifying. Boasberg ruled that while Pence does have some limited protections because of that, the immunity does not prevent him from testifying about conversations related to alleged illegality on Trump's part. Trump's legal team had separately made wholesale objections to Smith's subpoena on executive privilege grounds, claims which Boasberg completely rejected Monday. When asked Tuesday whether he intends to appeal, the former vice president did not give a direct answer. Shocking. In an interview with Newsmax's Greta Van Susteren. Instead, Pence said that the requirements of my testimony going forward are a subject of our review right now, and I'll have more to say about that in the days ahead. Okay, friends, let's unpack this one in 5 easy pieces. First, Donald Trump's claim of executive privilege rejected. Donald Trump tried to claim executive privilege means Mike Pence shouldn't be permitted to testify about any of my crimes. Chief Judge Boasberg rejected that wholesale. Number 2, Mike Pence's attempt to say, well, I was really a legislator that day, so I have complete speech or debate clause privilege immunity and I don't have to go into the grand jury and testify at all, rejected by Chief Judge Boasberg. Number 3, what little piece did Mike Pence win? I'm going to go with the air quotes because it really wasn't much of a win. Well, Chief Judge Boasberg said, you know what, even though you weren't really a legislator at all, I'm not going to order you to testify about what you did on January 6th, but I am going to order you to testify about all of the incriminating information you have about Donald Trump. Everything he said to you during his pressure campaign in the run-up to January 6th, trying to get you to unlawfully, unconstitutionally reject the results of Joe Biden's win and, just corruptly throw the election to Donald Trump. You have to testify about all of it. But you know what? Whatever you actually did on January 6th when you were presiding over the count of the Electoral College votes, opening the envelopes with a big flourish in your ceremonial responsibilities, Mike, you don't have to testify about that. Well, guess what? Jack Smith doesn't need Mike Pence's testimony about what he did on January 6th. Much of it was caught on tape. Much of it Mike Pence disclosed in his book or, in any number of media interviews he's given. So, you know what, Mike, you want to call that a little bit of a win? You go ahead and take that win, because Jack Smith will still be able to extract from you in the grand jury all of the incriminating evidence you have about Donald Trump. Number 4, can Mike Pence appeal? Of course he can, and he will lose on appeal. He will lose promptly on appeal, because one of the good developments that we've seen recently is how the courts seem to be done letting nefarious litigants weaponize the delay inherent in the court system. Chief Judge Boasberg is not letting them get away with it. A recent appellate court panel resolved an issue in, 6 hours and 6 hours? Remember that? When an appeal was filed, the appellate court said, okay, Trump, your team has 6 hours until midnight to file your position. Jack Smith, your team has 6 hours until 6 a.m., and the next day, the appellate court resolved the issue against Donald Trump. It looks like gone are the days that the courts are going to let Trump and his lackeys weaponize the delay in the system to their advantage. So, Mike, you go ahead and file an appeal. You will lose promptly, and you will lose spectacularly. And then here's the 5th issue. If executive privilege is not going to help Mike Pence, and if speech or debate clause privilege is not really going to help Mike Pence, are there any privileges left for Mike Pence to invoke when he walks into the grand jury, as he has now been ordered to do? The answer is yes. You probably already know which privilege it is. It's his Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination. If Mike Pence was complicit in the crimes of Donald Trump, he absolutely can walk into the grand jury and plead the Fifth, invoke his Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. That's an appropriate privilege. That's the only one he has left. Now, will he feel like he has to plead the Fifth? Will he believe that his truthful testimony would incriminate him? We don't know. But it's a decision he's going to have to make. So if he pleads the Fifth, that then leads to a couple other decisions that Jack Smith, special counsel, the prosecutor, will have to make. 1, if Jack Smith believes that Mike Pence is just throwing up his Fifth Amendment privilege as a roadblock, kind of like executive privilege and speech or debate clause privilege, and if Jack Smith believes Mike Pence really doesn't have a legitimate, viable Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination, because maybe Jack Smith has evidence that Mike Pence didn't commit any crimes, and if you didn't commit any crimes, your truthful testimony doesn't incriminate you and you can't plead the Fifth, Jack Smith can haul Mike Pence right back in front of Chief Judge Boasberg and litigate the viability of Mike Pence's Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. Is he just using it as a roadblock to continue to hide from the grand jury the incriminating information he has about Donald Trump? Maybe, maybe not. That's what Chief Judge Boasberg will litigate and resolve if Mike Pence goes that route. And here's the other thing. Let's keep playing this out to its ultimate conclusion. Let's assume Mike Pence pleads the Fifth. And let's assume Chief Judge Boasberg agrees. He says, you know what? Vice President Pence, former Vice President Pence, you do have a Fifth. You were complicit in Donald Trump's crimes. So you can refuse to testify by invoking your Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. Then Jack Smith has one more tactical decision to make. What do you do with a witness who pleads the Fifth if you really want and really need that witness's testimony about the crimes of others? You either immunize him, because when you grant somebody immunity, well, then their testimony can't be used against them. So immunity extinguishes someone's Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. But immunity also makes it more difficult to prosecute somebody for the crimes they committed, the crimes that prompted them to plead the Fifth in the first place. So it's a dicey proposition if Jack Smith decides that he wants to indict Mike Pence for his crimes. Well, then he probably is not going to immunize him. But if he doesn't immunize him, the other way to extract the testimony from Mike Pence is to indict him for his crimes and then try to flip him, develop him as a cooperating witness against Donald Trump. So when an important witness pleads the Fifth, those are the two tactical possibilities the prosecutor has: grant immunity and compel the testimony, or charge them, indict them, flip them, and turn them into a cooperator against the bigger fish. But one way or another, friends, Jack Smith will succeed, I predict, in extracting from Mike Pence all of the incriminating evidence and information he has about the crimes of Donald Trump. Because justice matters. Friends, as always, please stay safe, please stay tuned, and I look forward to talking with you all again soon.